It began with a sound, a low, metallic click echoing through the quiet hallways of an old apartment building. Apartment 9B had been empty for months, its windows clouded with dust, its walls lined with faint marks where paintings once hung. When the new tenants, Daniel and Nora Finch, moved in, they expected creaky floors and strange noises. What they didn't expect was a locked safe hidden behind a loose wall panel in their bedroom. It wasn't big, just a small steel box, heavy and cold to the touch. No one from management had mentioned it. The previous tenant, they were told, had left abruptly years ago. The landlord just shrugged it off, probably forgot about it. But Nora couldn't stop staring at it. "Why would someone seal it behind the wall?" she whispered. Daniel laughed it off at first, joking that it was probably filled with old jewelry or cash. But when they finally pried it out and tried to open it, the safe didn't feel like a forgotten treasure. It felt intentional, purposeful, like someone had wanted it to stay closed, but also wanted someone, someday, to find it. After a full day of failed attempts to get it open, Daniel found a small key taped under one of the kitchen drawers. It was old, tarnished, with the number 9B etched faintly into its side. The moment the lock clicked open, a faint scent of paper and dust filled the air. Inside were neatly stacked letters, sealed in yellow envelopes, each dated and numbered. The first one was labeled June 12, 2019. But that wasn't the strange part. The strange part was that the letter described something that hadn't happened yet, the exact date and time a fire alarm would go off in the building. Nora frowned as she read it out loud, thinking it was some kind of elaborate prank. But 3 days later, at exactly 2:37 a.m., the alarm blared through the halls. No fire, no smoke, just a triggered sensor. The tenants grumbled and the alarm company found nothing wrong. The letter had been right, word for word. The second letter came next, June 18, 2019. It described a burst pipe in the laundry room, water flooding across the tiles, residents rushing out in a panic. Daniel thought it was a coincidence until, 4 days later, it happened exactly as written. Now Nora refused to touch the box again. But Daniel, curious, logical, and maybe a little obsessed, started reading through every letter. The handwriting was precise, neat, and strangely detached, as if written by someone observing from a distance. The final lines of each note always ended the same way. It won't stop until someone listens. By the time they reached the fifth letter, Daniel noticed something even more unsettling. Each prediction was getting closer together. Each event was happening faster. And then he noticed the next date, June 24, 2019. That was tomorrow. The letter mentioned something vague. A fall in the stairwell. Witnessed. Unavoidable. Nora begged him to stop reading them. "It's just someone messing with us," she said. But Daniel couldn't let it go. He stayed up late, pacing, reading, rereading the letters like puzzle pieces. "What if this isn't a warning?" he murmured to himself. "What if it's instructions?" The next evening, as they walked back from dinner, they heard it, a crash from the stairwell. A neighbor, Mr. Dalton from 9A, had slipped and fallen. Minor injuries, nothing severe, but the timestamp in the building log, 7:46 p.m., exactly as written in the letter. Nora's face went pale. "Daniel," she whispered, "what if it's not predicting things? What if it's making them happen?" He laughed nervously, but even he didn't sound convinced anymore. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He went back to the box and found another sealed envelope, unmarked, no date, no title. Inside was a single sheet of paper with just 6 words. "You shouldn't have opened the safe." He froze. The handwriting was the same. The ink looked fresh, as if written recently. He turned it over. On the back, a faint sketch. Their apartment layout. The safe marked with a red X. The next morning, Nora insisted on calling the landlord. The manager, Mr. Heller, arrived with a clipboard and an uneasy smile. When Daniel showed him the letters, the man's face drained of color. He confessed quietly that the previous tenant, a man named Edward Cale, had been a retired crime analyst. Brilliant, reclusive, and paranoid. He'd lived alone in 9B for nearly a decade, claiming he could see patterns before they happened. He'd left suddenly after the police found notebooks full of predictions, small local events, accidents, even names of people who hadn't yet moved in. When the officers checked the predictions later, many had come true. Edward disappeared before they could question him further. Daniel didn't believe in the supernatural, but after that conversation, he began noticing things. Lights flickering, the hum of the old elevator, faint whispers of paper rustling inside the safe even when it was closed. Nora said it was the stress. But one night, she found Daniel sitting on the floor beside the safe, surrounded by letters. He wasn't reading them anymore. He was writing, in the same handwriting. Weeks passed. The predictions grew darker, not violent, but eerie. The building will remember. The walls will breathe again. She will see what I saw. Nora tried to get rid of the letters. She burned one in the kitchen sink, and that night, the smoke alarm went off at exactly 2:37 a.m., the same as the first event. The same words, glowing faintly on the unburnt corner. It won't stop until someone listens. Nora moved the safe into the closet, locked it, and taped it shut. But the next morning, it was back in the wall, as if it had never been touched. The envelopes were back too, except now there was a new one addressed to her. It read, "You're reading this because he didn't stop." Her heart pounded. She looked around. Daniel wasn't home. His phone was on the table. His notebook was open, filled with handwriting that didn't look like his anymore. At the bottom of the page, the same phrase was repeated again and again. Someone has to finish what he started. That night, the power went out in the building. Emergency lights flickered. Tenants gathered in the hallway, whispering. A low hum filled the air, mechanical, rhythmic, like something trying to turn on. When the lights returned, Daniel's handwriting had appeared on every mirror in the apartment, faintly fogged into the glass. The next tenant will understand. A month later, apartment 9B went back on the market. Cleaned, repainted, refurnished. The realtor smiled at the young couple moving in. "Old building," she said cheerfully, "but full of character." The husband pointed to a faint outline on the wall near the bed. "What's that?" "Oh," the realtor said, "probably just a patch job. The last tenants must have done some remodeling." Later that night, as the couple unpacked, the wife leaned against the wall and felt something hollow beneath her hand. A loose panel. Behind it, cold metal. A small safe. Taped to the front was a note. "To the new tenants of 9B, do not open until it happens again." Some places don't forget. They hold on to patterns, moments that replay like echoes in time. Maybe it's not ghosts we're afraid of, but memory itself, trying to rewrite the future. In apartment 9B, the safe still waits, silent, patient, and locked once more. And every few years, the pattern begins again. Because every story, no matter how carefully hidden, eventually opens itself. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. We'll see you in the next one.